My name is Weldon Wade. I'm an avid ocean advocate, diver, and community activist. Well, for me, what I love doing the most is bringing the community together. I love hosting beach cleanups and lionfish culling events, bringing businesses and the community in general together to unite for a common purpose, which would, in the cases that I'm involved in, is removing trash from the ocean. I mean, the ocean really connects us all, and connecting with people globally has been important to getting my message out there. It's just been a wonderful experience connecting with schools and students to talk about the problems that our ocean faces. And it's great to get together with other ocean heroes to talk about what we're doing and getting our message across. I believe one of the cornerstones to protecting the ocean is human connection and awareness. So the more people are aware of how important the ocean is to our health and our well-being, that's very valuable. And we are live. So, first things first, shout out to TBI for this fantastic internet that's allowing me to broadcast live and direct from my home here in Bermuda. But before we move forward, are we good with audio? Are we good with video? Is StreamYard doing what it's supposed to do? Is the camera doing what it's supposed to do? Is the mic good? Got to get all the technical bits out of the way. We're going to build it while we fly out here. Let me know where you're from on the live. If you have any questions right away, let me know. It's been wonderful working with TBI in bringing all kinds of things to the forefront, especially the work that I've been doing in the community for the past 10 years, people. So back in 10 years ago, I started Bermuda Ocean Explorers to get people diving and exploring the ocean, putting their eyes underwater, and seeing all the wonders below. Beautiful day in Bermuda. Super gorgeous. 85, 86 degrees, sunny. And you are locked in to the premiere episode, finally, of the Wade in the Water late live show. So for those of you that know me, for those of you that don't, my name is Weldon Wade. I'm a diver, educator, explorer, and ocean activist. It's what I do. My job is to get you diving and keep you diving. And it's been a wonderful journey so far in just getting around Bermuda, getting eyes underwater, pulling in the community, even dragging some people out that don't want to be in the ocean because they're afraid of, I don't know, Whitmer rays, Bermuda Triangle, sea monsters. And Whitmer ray, you guys, is just another name for eagle ray. For some reason, we call them Whitmer rays because their tail is like a whip. But shout out to all my divers, explorers, and activists around the world that are tuning in to this first premiere of Wade in the Water late live show. So why do a live show? Why not do a live show? You know, I wanted to do a podcast for a long time. I wanted to do, I don't know, just something, right? And I truly believe that just being in front of you guys live and direct, leveraging the technology that I have and the resources that I got access to, plus pulling from my, experience as an IT guy. For those of you that have known me for a long time, that's kind of how I cut my teeth in innovation and technology. And now I'm just in the ocean space. So here's how it's going to go. I do have a framework that I want to run these lives through. So we're going to have introduction. We're going to run through a monologue. And what I'm going to do is talk about the previous week, highlighting all the goings on in the ocean space, both locally, regionally, and globally that I've touched on, that I think will bring value to you. And in the case of this being the very first show, there's a whole lot that I can reach back to. So this is sort of like things that are going on within my sphere of influence that I think would benefit you greatly, even if you're not a diver, but stuff that's just dope stuff to talk about. So I can't really go on too much about, the recent times in Bermuda especially those positive points of note that really like blow your mind, it has to be the recognition and acknowledgement of Flora Duffy winning the gold medal in the women's triathlon in the Olympics. Flora went to Work Academy. I went to Work Academy, class of 95. So shout out to Flora and her amazing win. I do got some notes up here as well, you guys. Let me just fly the thing right here. Flora winning the gold is a huge, huge win. We just had our cup match holiday. So for the persons that aren't dialed in to Bermuda, you're tuning in from overseas, like my friend Jessica is, as well as Mr. Kevin, right? You're locked in from Toronto. So we just had our biggest holiday of the year, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of vibes and culture and history and tradition, and that would be the cup match holiday. So we experienced a 2-day cricket match between the east end and the west end of the island, which is a classic that's been going on for years. And then we had Saturday, and then Sunday was Northern Mariners. So what was really, really unique and exciting about this particular year is, I mean, all things were standing, with pandemic and whatnot, we were able to come together and celebrate both Emancipation Day, the first day of cup match, so the freeing of slaves, and then Mary Prince Day on the second day of cup match, which was Friday. So that's exciting for many, many reasons, because Mary Prince, the journals that her documentation about how she was being treated ended up leading to the abolition of slavery. And as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first holiday anywhere in the world that celebrates a Black woman, which is really, really dope. So I'm a lifelong learner. If that's correct, great. If it's not, I stand to be corrected. But what also happened on the holiday weekend is I had a wonderful opportunity to join the wonderful team down at Dive Bermuda at Grotto Bay. So I want to shout out to the instructor, staff, owner, and management, crew, Captain Chris, and all the guys that made my experience aboard bottom time super memorable. We went back to some spots I'm actually quite familiar with. We went to the wreck of the Pallenian, and then we went to the Pallenian I can speak to, big shipwreck. I wouldn't call it intact. And for my divers in the room that have seen the Pallenian, I wouldn't call it intact per se, but there's a lot of structure underneath the surface of the water that is really, really dope. So it's a really great wreck. It's a lot to see, a lot to do, you can go under the ship. It's really, really cool. Our next trip, because typically when you dive in Bermuda, it's a 2-tank trip. So you do normally a wreck and a reef. And Bermuda is the shipwreck capital of the Atlantic. There's tons to see. And we hit the Pallenian on the first dive, and on the second dive, it was the cave system that we call Cathedral. So Cathedral is a very special. It's special for a couple of reasons. The Cathedral feature. It's just a big cavern that opens up. It's very big. You can drive like a SUV in there, right? If it wasn't submerged in water. Certain times of the day, the light shines through the rocks, pushing down these rays of light. It's really, really beautiful. So that in of itself is fantastic. There's Devil's Throat, which is a swim through just to the side of Cathedral. Devil's Throat, Cathedral. That's a little different, but anyway, I digress. Go through Devil's Throat, you make your way to Cathedral, and then we did spend a moment at the memorial of young Ryan Craig, who passed away a few years ago in a diving incident right off Grotto Bay. So I hadn't actually seen Ryan's memorial in quite some time, so it was bittersweet, but great to put eyes on his memorial, bring him front of mind, and just recognize he was young, he had energy, so much going for him. I got to know Ryan reasonably well before he did pass away. So finished the dive, got back on board bottom time. Captain Chris got us back to the dock, no problem. And dive instructor Marley helped tie stern to the dock. And I remember just really, really having a good time. And it's been a while since I've been out with Dive Bermuda. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Moving on. For those of you that don't know, I still serve on the board of directors for a local organization called the Bermuda Underwater Exploration Institute. So I bring that up because and shout out to my buddy Norman. Thank you so much for jumping on the live. You see what I've become, bro. Went from like unpacking servers and racking servers and 42U racks and stuff to talking about ocean exploration and conservation and sustainability and climate justice and stuff. What a life change it's been. But I digress a little bit just to say Norman's been a longtime friend of mine, and goodness, when we were really close, we were the tech guys that would spend weekends unboxing computers, breaking them down, putting them back together, playing with Linux and stuff. So it's wonderful to see him on the live. It's just crazy. It seems like a lifetime ago that we were doing all that stuff. But so I put down the screwdrivers and putting down the motherboards and chips and stuff, switched over to rebreathers and technical diving stuff and being out on the water. But so I serve on the board of directors for the Bermuda Underwater Exploration Institute. It was opened around 1995. And just as a side story, my uncle is a welder by trade, and he passed on his knowledge to me, thankfully. So I can dabble in some welding. But I remember back in '94, we were building BUEI, and I have really it burned into my memory back in. I mean, I was 16 because I had my own bike. You can get your own 50cc scooter when you're 16. It was Halloween, and we were finished welding some studs on the front of the building. And I was like, I gotta go because it's getting dark. And riding your scooter back then around Halloween was no bueno. Like you would get probably get like an egg or two thrown at you. So I remember getting out of there, and then fast forward years and years later, I was just pretty much hanging out at BUEI all the time. And then just to all the work I do with the community, the leadership of the time invited me to join the board. So I still serve on the board. Shout out to everyone at BUEI. But what's happening? This is like breaking news for you guys in the ocean space. BUEI are hosting the first ever Youth Climate Summit. And it's happening November 22nd through the 27th. There's more information coming out about it in the very, very near future. But I was given the okay to drop those dates to let you guys know what's happening. It's going to be amazing. I've seen the deck. It looks great. And it's not just another event, right? It's not just something you send kids to and they consume information for a weekend and then they go away and never hear about anything ever again. It's completely different framework, a different formula. It's executed in a way I haven't seen an event executed before. So mark your calendars, November 22nd through November 27th, BUEI Youth Climate Summit. And it's going to be dope. I can't wait. I'm involved with it a bit as a director and also as a participant, and I'll be wearing all the different hats I have to represent pretty much. Speaking of which, you guys know, if you don't, you'll know now that I work in communications for something called the Bermuda Ocean Prosperity Program. It's a partnership between the government of Bermuda, the WAIT Institute, WAITT, WAIT, not Wade, and the Bermuda Institute of Ocean Sciences. And ultimately, our plan is to protect 20% of Bermuda's exclusive economic zone, the wider ocean space that surrounds Bermuda. So a couple things going on with Bob. Like I said, framework of these lives, these late night lives, is going to be a bit of introduction, bit of monologue, and it's raining outside. That's interesting. I wasn't expecting rain tonight. I'll talk about the day later on, but I wasn't expecting rain. I think my windows are down in the car. But this is a live show, and the show must go on, right? So BOP is a wonderful program. It's 2 years in, and in terms of marking your calendar, there's some really cool things going on. The last Sunday, guys, of every month going forward until the end of the year, we're hosting a beach cleanup. So it's a beach cleanup series, the last Sunday of every month. Check out Bermuda Ocean Prosperity on Facebook. That's really where to go to get the heads up about events. But we do have BermudaOceanProsperity.org as well. Just lock into our events calendar and plan to attend beach cleanups going forward. We had a really amazing cleanup at Shelley Bay Park at the end of July. We got in at a great time. The weather was fantastic. A little breezy out of the southwest was blowing. Like Bermudians, we were camping out Shelly Bay in preparation for the holiday weekend and stuff. So people's tents were blowing and stuff. So it was a little bit gnarly, but sun was out. It wasn't raining like it is now, raining inside my car. But it was really, really cool. About 18 volunteers came out. I separated all the tin, aluminum, and glass because in Bermuda, we do have an incinerator. So we do burn, waste to energy. And we only recycle tin, aluminum, and glass. We separate that out. That goes to recycling, and most everything else gets incinerated. So community-wise, beach cleanup vibes, get out there and join us. But what's happening tomorrow, which is pretty awesome, is we're starting another series. We wanted to do is bring people together to talk about stuff, specifically around BOP and what we want to do with protecting the ocean. So we decided to have virtual beachside chat series. And that kicks off tomorrow at 6 p.m. Bermuda time, which will be 5 p.m. Eastern, and then Central, Pacific. Sorry, the time zones are, and so 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 p.m. for those of you guys in the UK and on that side. Hi, Beth. Hope you're doing well. So log into Facebook or YouTube tomorrow on the Bermuda Ocean Prosperity Program's socials, and you'll be able to listen to our virtual beachside chat series. So I'm moderating it, which is pretty cool. So tonight is kind of a little testy to see how everything works, the lighting and mics and camera and stuff. Because tomorrow I'll be moderating the panel. We have Dr. Robbie Smith on the panel from BZS. We've got Dr. Tammy Warren jumping on the panel as well from DENR. And then we've got Dr. Eric Hochberg from BIOS that's going to be jumping on as well. So it's funny because on my scooter, I actually passed Eric. He was crossing the street getting groceries, it looked like. I was like, hi, Eric. I never see Eric. And then we connect over the past while to get him on the live for tomorrow. And then I see him, right? That's kind of how it goes. Bermuda's only 21 square miles, maybe 63,000 people on the island right now. And it's funny because you can go years and not see somebody. And then you see them that one time, and then you just see them over and over and over again. It's pretty funny how this island works. But what happens is, like, for most of us here, you get on a bit of a glide path, right? Like it's your home, your job, the one or two places you may socialize or whatnot, the places that you eat, the places that you get your groceries from, banking. Nobody really goes to the banks anymore, but you get into this rhythm of going from point A, B, C, D, E, and you repeat that, and you may go, east to see grandma or west to see sister or whatever, but you kind of don't really see too many people. Like, you know what I mean? It's pretty interesting. And then, like, boom, you see somebody you haven't seen in years, and you're like, where you been? Did you move away? Because a lot of Bermudians do go away and come back. I did that. I lived in Toronto for a couple of years, right downtown on Bloor and Ossington. I worked for a law firm down on Adelaide and York. I miss Toronto. It's been years. I don't know. I mean, I keep bringing it up like it was yesterday, but it was 10 years ago now, I think. I was living in Toronto. Miss it. Love it. Shout out to all my wonderful Canadians out there. My best friend, Bob, no longer in Bermuda. He did leave the island, but miss you, man, especially come lobster season. And I have to digress that I did not put my stats in for the 2021 year. So Bob, Brandon, John, Pastor Shaw, I'm so sorry. But due to not putting in my stats, I got an email from Dr. Pitt just, I think, yesterday. And she's like, hey, Weldon, because we work together through the Ocean Prosperity Program. She's like, sorry, Weldon, I got to send you this. It's, it is what it is. And I don't have my license now for the 21-22 season. So you need a permit to harvest lobsters recreationally in Bermuda, you guys. You pay $130 US. You're allowed to take 2 lobsters per licensed diver per day. The lobsters have to be a certain size, and they cannot be female bearing eggs. And then you can't go everywhere. There's spots that you can't go to harvest these lobsters. And from September to March, you're free to go and harvest your lobsters as long as you abide by the rules. I'll be going out. I'll be taking guys out diving, and but I won't be taking home any lobsters, I'm afraid. I won't be harvesting any lobsters. So lesson learned. get your stats in. These guys are serious. The science is important to keeping our lobster stocks good. And if you're like me, don't consider myself lazy. Honestly, there's a lot going on. And I honestly thought I put my stats in. And I think my buddy Bob reminded me, he was like, bro, April's coming up. Did you put your stats in? And I was like, yeah, man, I think I did. And I didn't. So for those of you guys in Bermuda that are residents here, that are into harvesting lobsters, that did put your stats in, that do have the green light to get your permit, grab your permit, get out there by boat or by shore, free diving only. Again, Jessica, if you're still on the live, a lot of rules and regulations here in Bermuda. And I mean, we've got some of the oldest conservation legislation in the world protecting our green sea turtles. I don't want to do a deep dive into that whole bit because there's something going on now where we're running out of turtle grass. So there's a project where we're caging off turtle grass to prevent turtles from getting to the grass. So it's really dope that we started to protect turtles ages ago. But now, unfortunately, for one reason or the other, there are too many turtles and there's too little seagrass. And what we're finding, seagrass is a cornerstone of the ecosystem, and it's home to all kinds of critters. It provides food for things in addition to turtles. So there's a lot going on in that space. But when it comes to harvesting from the ocean, removing anything from the ocean that's alive, we got a lot of strict little rules and regulations around that. So with lobstering, it's seasonal, and then you need that permit I've been talking about, and then you're able to harvest 2 per day per permitted diver, as long as it's a certain size. And then you got to put your stats in. Been harping on about the stats. You got to get your stats in so that the government knows how many you took and where you took them from. So you don't have to actually give them GPS to your spots. That's a whole nother thing. Going out lobster diving or spearfishing, big thing, especially with the lobstering, is not giving away your spots. So you got to be careful who you let on your boat. You got to make sure that you don't give up your hot spots. You got to vet guys out and make sure nobody's got Navionics tracking you on their phone. It's a whole thing, and I can't wait to talk more about that, do a deeper dive into lobstering. But it is pretty dope. Now, one thing to bear in mind, since we're on the topic of lobsters, is the Bermuda Atlantic spiny lobster doesn't have any claws. So I see Jessica. I'm gonna try something real quick. I should be able to. Yeah, there you go. Now, Jessica, I'm gonna make this official. I really want to get you on the live one late Wednesday night so that we can share our experience that we had on the MV Fling when we did our expedition to the Flower Gardens Sanctuary. I haven't actually done a full debrief about that experience, and it'll be really awesome to do that with you on the live. So let's get that sorted out. It'll be really, really exciting to actually have a live dedicated to talking about the wonderful work that you and I did. And for those of you that have no idea what I'm talking about, when was this, Jessica? Back in 2018, 2019. Yeah, it was a invitational, bunch of rock stars. Half of us were scientists, half of us were lionfish colors, and we jumped aboard a liveaboard, and we met in Texas. So Texas, the Gulf. So we met in Texas. Yeah, 2019, I thought so. Met in Texas, jumped on the Fling, cruised to the Flower Gardens Marine Sanctuary in the Gulf of Mexico, and did a few days of intense culling. So that was really, really great. And we were on board with numerous rock stars. But from Bermuda, it was myself and Dr. Gretchen Goodbody, and Alex Checker was on board too. So it was great to have familiar faces, as well as seeing some other people I'd only ever met on social. Granted, we had a blast. Jessica can second that. We had a blast, but the diving was so intense. I don't remember really socializing a whole much. It was just about, for me, I'll be honest with you, not getting sick, not being too hungover, and just being able to dive. You know what I mean? Every day. That was a thing. I remember taking so many vitamins, drinking so much water, staying away from the bar. I did bring swizzle. I will have to bring more swizzle should we do it again, but I was just like, yo, don't get sick. You're in this like once in a lifetime, maybe twice in a lifetime opportunity aboard the fling with these rock stars. You're representing. Don't get freaking sick like while you're out here because you're on a boat, right? You're on a boat with all these rock stars. It's like more of a yacht or ship. Call it a ship. Yeah, these fizzle. I gotta put this up, Jess. I'm sorry. Yes. Oh, it was so much fun. It was great. I want to say there were maybe 50 of us on deck, 20 lionfish colors, 20 scientists. And how it worked, guys, is the scientists would go in first and lay out the transact lines, do the sciencey thing that scientists do, and then they'd pop up, and then the colors would jump in after and explore those transacts. We'd have already hatched out on a whiteboard where we would go. So if Jessica was my buddy, Jessica was not my buddy. I wish she was. Shout out to my buddy though, Katie, you were awesome. But if Jessica was my buddy, what we would do is we'd pick a quadrant to explore and cull, and we make sure Team Alpha did there, Bravo did there, whoever, Alex Fogg did here, Rachel did there, and we go out, and it was a competition, and it was really, really, really fun. But I digress, you guys. Thank you so much. So, Jess, let's pick a night. Let's get you on the calendar, get you on the live. I mean, in fact, I could pull you on the live now. You want to jump in the live now? I can send you the link, and you can just jump right on, I think. But it's up to you. Let me know. This is our show. We can do whatever we want to do. But let me know if you'd like to jump on the live and say hi. But yeah, you guys, just to wrap up the monologue. Yeah. So these are the notes that I made earlier today, and I just want to reiterate. This is how the live late night show is going to go. Intro, bit of monologue. Going to look at the past week or two dope things that have happened that are of note. So what we have here, for those of you guys that jumped on the live late, shout out to Flora Duffy, Quona Ascendum, fellow Work Academy alumnus. Super cool that Flora Duffy won the gold medal, Bermuda's first ever gold medal, I must add. Plus, we went to the same high school, so that's wicked. Caught Match Holiday on Non-Mariners, amazing Emancipation Day holiday, Mary Prince Day holiday on the Friday. I wasn't going to bring this up, but, I'm keeping it real with you guys. I mean, you're here with me in my house. It's 10:30 at night. My team lost. I had my St. George's hat and cup because I still represent. But I said 2 teams play cricket, and the winner gets the cup. And Somerset beat St. George's and kept the cup. But next time, I'm gonna have my hat and my cup because it's gonna be blue and blue through and through. Gotta mention my uncle Clevie. Clevie Wade was captain of the St. George's team back in the 80s. And I just remember being a kid, being down the town square. I don't remember the game, but I remember the celebration because uncle was up on a horse with the cup. And I think it was Mike Watson and his horse walking up and down, the town square and leading out of the town of St. George. And I just remember the vibe, the energy was amazing. But, Clevie wasn't the first Wade that played cricket. His father, my grandfather, Calvin Wade, some pictures went around on social with of my grandfather. He passed away at 53, I believe. I was 5. Yeah, man, life is precious, you guys, man. I don't want to switch up the energy, but like life is precious. And what I would say, while on that, whatever you want to do, just do it. Just get out there and do it, you guys. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to move into the topic of the evening. Every show is going to have a topic. Hold on. So we're building this while we fly, you guys. And so I'm going to just, Beth, shout out to Beth. It's wonderful to have you on your live. And it's late. But yeah, the mic is picking up the tree frogs. Bermuda has this ambiance at night when you go outside. You hear this orchestra of crickets and tree frogs. So, huh? Jess, you heard the tree frogs line? So hold on. we're going to do something right now. Jess, I'm going to post a link in the chat. So if you click that, you should be able to join the live. And you're my boy. But I gotta put that up and then take that down. You guys play well. That's what I'll say. All right. Yeah, we got those whistling frogs. So we're gonna see if that StreamYard link works for Jessica, and if Jessica can jump on the live, Jess can share for a few minutes her take on the vibes we had back in 2019 aboard the MV Fling liveaboard, which was pretty cool. Hey, no, it's nowhere. There's no pressure. No pressure. Matter of fact, I'm gonna take a second and just switch something up real quick. Let's do the bubble. This thing took switched up all my colors. Like, that's cool. And yeah, if you guys have any questions about anything, just pop them in the comments. I'm gonna give Jessica a little bit of time, but the theme of the show, the title of the show is, hold on. I got you, Jess. Don't worry. I got you. Don't worry. There you go. Yeah, I'm gonna have a title, a theme for every live. We're just not gonna jump on and listen to me ramble. We will have guests on deck as well. That's in the artwork. Weldon Wade and guests. It's not all about me. But this is a show by divers for divers. So ultimately, while I do want to, offer some value to everybody, no matter whether you dive or not, it's by divers for divers. So tonight's theme is going to be the 3 things I wish I knew before I got into diving. Okay? The 3 things I wish I knew before I got into diving. And I'll be super keen to get your feedback on, what your thoughts are. If you're a diver, you've been diving for a few years, a decade, couple decades, a few decades, looking back, reflecting on your journey. I always call it a journey, but I call it a job. I don't call it a job. I don't call it a hobby. Most of the time when I talk about diving, I'll talk about it as being a lifestyle or a journey. And it's a bit of both and it's unique for everybody, but I'll get into that. So the 3 things that I wish I knew, slash like the things that I'm happy about, because some of the things that I wish I actually had. So yeah, we'll digress a little bit. So, hey, you ready? Give me a thumbs up if you're ready. We got the thumbs up. Let's get the audio going because I want to be able to hear you too. Ladies and gentlemen, please, without further ado, I'd love to introduce you guys to Jessica. See how this goes. Hi.
Hey, guys.
I can hear you.
Great. Fantastic. It's so good to see you, Weldon.
Yeah, that's dope. Let me make some adjustments real quick. There we go. Do you hear the whistling frogs?
I do. They sound amazing.
You look good. You sound good. I miss your face. It's been years for sure.
No,
it's crazy.
too long.
I know. So where exactly are you in the world?
So I am just a little bit south Houston, Texas. So in between Houston and Galveston. So really close to where we left on the fling for our Flying Fish Invitational. So I'm a local.
That's pretty dope. Actually, when I met you and the team, that's the first time I'd ever been to Texas. The first time I'd ever seen like refineries. And I remember I had a really good snow cone on a beach that my team that I got from the airport to the dock with. We stopped and got snow cones. That was pretty cool. And outside of diving, the other thing I remember the most, other than you and all the rock stars that were on the boat, were the mosquitoes, man.
Unofficial state bird of Texas. Yeah, they're huge.
No.
They'll carry you away, man. They'll
My
get you.
God. I remember when we arrived, for like pre-departure and all that, it was fine. But it was getting back. Like we had all been together, it'd been this big fling family. The fling's the name of the boat. Big fling family. And I wanted to like just hug everybody and thank everybody. And it was like you couldn't. Like you had to get in your car and drive away. So
We were running.
yeah, so please, welcome to the late live show, the Wade in the Water late live show. I don't even know if I properly brought in the show with the title and everything, but please tell the viewership, your name, where you're from, why you dive, what you love, and then you can talk about the week we spent on the fling.
Sure. So my name is Jessica Lee, and I am from Texas, like I said earlier. I've been diving for 18 years. I am a PADI Master Scuba Diver and Trainer. And I am the sole proprietor of Diving with Jess. So I just started my own diving company, which is really exciting.
That's dope.
Yeah, so my degree is in marine biology. So I got that from Texas A&M University at Galveston, and I've been in love with diving ever since I hopped in on a tri scuba one day, and so sharing that with others and getting to tie in the scientific diving that I did for research in with like the instruction and that type of thing is pretty fantastic. Um, so it was really neat. My former lab is actually the first group of divers who ever saw lionfish out at the flower gardens. So it was the first sighting ever. And it was really cool. It was right before I started the lab, and they were the first ones that they were out there doing some cool work on rock hinds and grazebees out there. If they saw them, they were like, "What's this? Why are you here?"
What is this funny looking thing? That's cool. So,
Yeah. So we already knew they were in Florida, obviously. So, but this was the first time anyone had saw them in Texas. Yeah.
okay. That's wild. Well, I need to get back over there and dive with you. I need to figure out how to
Yes.
make that a priority in these wild times. Typically, I'd just be able to jump on a flight and spend a week over there. So we'll talk about that
I know. I'm
offline. But
heartbroken.
yeah, it's just like, ugh. Yeah. Or you come here. That might be easier. We'll see. We'll
I'm
take a vote.
okay with that. I'm okay with going to see you there. Yeah, I'll have to take me to some of those cool caves. You'll have to take me to some of those cool dive spots you were telling about in the beginning of this. So it all sounds super fun and exciting.
Yes. Now, I think that you and I can probably have a live just dedicated to all the wonderful things that you're doing over there. I'd love to hear more about diving with Jess and how people can connect with you. So, just real quick, if you want to give a plug on how people can find you on social and connect with you and get out with you, that would be really, really fun.
Thank you. Yeah. So you can find me on Facebook and Instagram. My handle is at divingwithjess. And my email is divingwithjess@gmail.com. So pretty easy to remember.
All right. All right.
um, yeah. So my whole business focus is around eco focus, dive training, and travel. So hopefully maybe I can, once things open up, I can put together a trip and we'll come out and visit you. Maybe we'll bring a whole bunch of friends too.
That would
Um,
be
but yeah,
cool. That
so
would
I
be
have,
cool.
right? So,
That would be cool.
whenever it comes to either lionfish hunts or doing fish identification surveys, underwater trash cleanups, beach trash cleanups, all of the above. And I have since I have a lot of connections in the marine biology world, there's some really cool studies on microplastics going on. So there's just all sorts of really, really cool ways that we can connect with the environment and use diving for fun and for a tool. So that's kind of what diving with Jess is all about. It's just getting you out diving. It's the best way to get better. The best way to become a great diver is to dive more. So giving people the tools that they need to be able to do that.
So, I mean, I want to talk about the fling, but I want to talk about the future, the present and the future. I mean, it's so crazy. Just because like what you just talked about touches on everything that we're doing over here, whether it's with Ocean Prosperity or Guardians of the Reef or the BUEI or BIOS, which is our science partner. So the Bermuda Institute of Ocean Science has been around for a really long time. They're conducting all kinds of different bits and bobs of research. And speaking of which, Dr. Tom Iliff, who's out of Texas A&M, came. Shout out to Dr. Iliff. It's been a few years since he's been here, but Dr. Iliff would come. Yeah, he's still there. He's cool.
Oh, yeah, he's still there. And one of my really good friends, Fernando, is his grad student, and they just published a paper about the hotspot biodiversity in one of your Bermudian caves. So I just recently shared the article. I'll tag you in it. But
Cool.
Kind of curious if you've ever been to that cave and if you've seen the cool animals they were talking about.
Oh, I'm happy to say that I'm not full cave certified, and Bermuda's caves are restricted to those that are only full cave that have also been blessed by a cave sentinel. I won't say his name, but you have to sort of pass a bit of an initiation with him. So I met Dr. Iliff sort of early on in my scuba journey. As I hinted earlier, it's really way beyond a hobby or sport. It's really up for Jess and I. You guys, it's a lifestyle right now. Jess works in the space full time, having the science background, and diving with Jess as an entrepreneur, and full PADI instructor, diving all the time. So that's great. I have a unique journey in that I'm not a scuba diving instructor. I'm put on Earth for a slightly different purpose, but my purpose means that I connect with people like Jess to do really dope work and get people in the water, certified, leveled up, and comfortable enough to dive in caves to do some cool science, like Dr. Iliff has done in Bermuda. Now, a really cool story, Jess, and anyone who listens to this either live or on the replay, please forgive me, but there was an article in the paper recently where the Bermuda Aquarium Museum and Zoo, which isn't far from our cave system, they've got a subsurface cave filtration system, pumping pipes and tubes and stuff that just gets water into the holding tanks in the aquarium, and that has filtration. It turns out that they'd sent a full team of full cave divers into the caves to explore and find these little, translucent little shrimp that only live in the caves. And then one day, the guys at the aquarium are like, let's go change the filters. So they go to change the filters, and they're like, hey, man, there's these little things in the filtration in the sort of sump. And it turns out it's those critters that they've been collecting all this time in the sump of this subsurface filtration cave system. So you're like, you don't need the side mount full cave diver, dive team with stage bottles and lights and the whole Jill Heiner level stuff. You could have just gone to the aquarium's filtration system and found all the little super rare endemic little critters that do some cool stuff. But
we'll have to get them to put them in baggies and send them over to Tom.
Send them to Tom. Tom doesn't have to bring his gear anymore. Just go to BZS and go to the filter, and there you go. No more diving.
You don't even gotta
go. But I would love to have you really back to just catch up with you on the live to talk about all kinds of things. But I pulled you in because I had taken the conversation down the rabbit hole of our trip on the Fling. So I guess the best question that I have for you is, what are your best memories of being on board? And, certainly, you've got the science background and the diving instructor background, where my lens was my first live aboard. I don't do the science. I just really spear lionfish. So, what did you really get out of that 5-day, seems like 4 or 5 day experience on board the Fling?
It was fantastic. It was such a really great group of divers because we had people who were just hardcore lionfish spear bosses who were out there, and they were fantastic, and I learned so much from them. And then there was all of the amazing scientists, and then there was instructors, there was dive masters. I was lucky enough to be there with a former lab mate of mine, Michelle. She was my dive buddy. I was on there. One of the dive masters on the boat was one of my dear friends and fellow instructors. And what was so cool is bringing together a group who is that diverse. So we have people who are all in the science. We have people like me who have like a foot in both worlds. And then we have the people who are out there. They're like the boots on the ground. They're the ones who are in Florida and are just like going at it, getting all the lionfish. And so bringing all of those people with these different backgrounds together, I think is so fantastic. And I think that's how we really change. And I think that's how we really learn. Is combining all of our experiences and kind of, pulling the best pieces of each of us and combining that into this amazing group of people who were really making a difference. So when we go out there, like you were explaining earlier, the scientists go down, they do fish surveys, and then they layer transects for us so that way us fine fish hunters don't get lost, and we can stay in our quadrants. Um, and what's super cool about that, and then afterwards, so we were exhausted because we're going out and we're doing 4 or 5 dives a day. They have to go out and they dive before us and they dive after us because they're doing a pre and post survey. So that's how, yeah. So, it's super important whenever we do something like this. It's great to go out with whole lionfish, and it's important, and you're making a difference. But whenever you actually are doing the science, so that way it can be utilized in scientific papers for long-term research. Having those people who are thinking about that, being like, hey, okay, how do we actually make sure that what we're doing isn't just awesome, but it's actually something that we can use for management purposes, that we can actually publish. Is super important. But it was such a great group. Everyone was so fun. Essentially diving the flower gardens. For those of you who aren't familiar, it is one of the most pristine, beautiful reefs in the world. It's really far offshore compared to what most coral reefs. And so it is in deeper water. It's further offshore, so it's further away from pollution. It's not affected as much by temperature changes. So we have huge corals. Coral coverage there is insane. There's so many fish. There's very little algae cover. We're so lucky. It breaks my heart sometimes when I go back, and especially when I'm in the game for this long. I've been diving for 18 years. So you go back to places you know of a long time ago, almost 2 decades. And when you're out there, it'll look really different from the first time you were there, and it can be kind of heartbreaking. But not the flower garden. I didn't know what to expect because it's been, I don't know, maybe like 5 or 6 years whenever I went out in the lionfish invitational since I'd been out there last. And it was just amazing as I remembered. And us divers, we don't get that often. So it was we were really blessed to have like such a beautiful, healthy reef system. And we're trying to do everything we can to protect it, like culling lionfish. And what's really cool is all those lionfish, they weren't just removed. They pull stomachs, they do stomach content. There's a lot of cool people. I used to do a lot of work on otoliths, so ear bones, fish. And so and you can take tissue samples. There's all sorts of cool stuff that they get from the lionfish. So it's not just one thing. Just have a bunch of really fun divers together. Although, unlike Weldon, I wasn't that lucky. I did get sick, so I'll call myself out.
Hey, that was the biggest thing for me. I think like if I had to think 3 things, I mean, I only got 2 really, but it's like, have fun, don't get hurt, and don't get sick, right? The diving was absolutely phenomenal. But yeah, it's great to get your perspective. And again, like, while I knew 2 other divers on the boat, we didn't know each other super well. I mean, I didn't know Alex and Gretchen really, really well. I know they were the deep dive team here, so they did their whole technical thing on their own. They didn't really fraternize much. And I say this respectfully, they didn't fraternize much with the open circuit divers that much. And I hadn't really seen them on open circuit much at all with my own eyes. So to see them making bubbles, I'm like, wow, that's pretty weird, because they're used to their CCR, their rebreathers. But yeah, it was just about, being around you guys, getting to know you guys well. I was essentially solo, so I met Katie there on the boat, and we ended up being buddies for the whole trip. And it's wild just being connected on Facebook with everybody, and just, being a fly on the wall, really, and just watching how everyone's progressing in their careers and their lives, whether, and everyone's life takes all these twists and turns. But what I wanted to say, just because I really don't want to let you go, I know you got to go, but I don't want to let you go. You can't be on here all night. Is the theme or topic of the show for me was really going to be, after the monologue and introductions and everything, was going to be the three things I wish I knew before I got into diving. Would you take a crack at that very briefly before I do mine?
Sure. Yeah, the three things I wish I knew before I got into diving. So for me, I guess one of the first ones is I was very young whenever I got certified. So I was a small, young female. And luckily, I think part of that played into my fearlessness of not understanding. I didn't have preconceived notions too much. And I didn't realize, that the sport, especially again, whenever I got certified, a little bit different than it is now. That going into a highly male dominated
Okay.
sport where everyone is usually a lot older than you. I was always the youngest, the smallest, and usually the only female on a boat there for a while. But that's really changed. That doesn't happen
It is.
anymore. All the boats I go on, it's almost always 50-50. So I guess one of the things that I guess maybe I kind of knew, kind of didn't know, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're the smallest or the youngest or the whatever if you are on the
Okay.
boat. You are welcome on that boat. It's kind of like what we were talking about. We were strangers when we went on that boat, and when we came off of it, we were buddies. So when you dive, you never dive alone.
Yeah.
People become your dive. So once you have that connection, that diving is what you both like. You have this instant connection, and so you can come from completely different backgrounds. And
Cool.
there you go. You have a buddy. So that was one thing. I guess you never don't have a buddy. What are the two other things? It's hard. I've been diving
I
for so
totally
long. I
put you on
can't
the
remember
spot.
what I didn't know.
I put you on the spot. So let me. What I'll do.
It's cool.
I can give you a minute. I mean, my three are really like from my perspective, and it's wonderful that you got started early and you pushed through the obstacles you might have faced either internally or not. But I know people get a little hesitant, right? If you're the only anything on a boat, if you're the only guy, only girl, you're the youngest, you're the oldest. I mean, when I was in Cozumel, there was a gentleman on the boat that was in his late 80s, and I was like, I want to be with that guy. Because I think your boy knows, I know he knows his shit. Like let's go with this guy because it was great, and he was while people were a bit like, I guess, were a bit taken aback. They're like, wow. I was like, yeah, I really want to dive with him. So he ended up being my buddy for a couple of dives, which was great. But real quick, my three, and this is again from my perspective, having grown up in Bermuda, where the beach is never more than a mile away, but not having been exposed to the sport, either through friends, family, career, or whatever, I would definitely say, in hindsight, being where I am today and thinking back to if someone would have whispered in my ear, three things that would have helped me to level up a bit better would be, number one, having a mentor. Having a mentor in this journey is very, very valuable. And I'm speaking non-academic, just strictly in taking the sport and grasping it and jumping into the deep end. It's great when you have someone to help you navigate through that space. And Jessica, I'm going to give you a second to chime in on that if you like in a moment. But I'm not a sportsman. I've got family that are sportsmen, and I do observe sportsmen and I do watch sports. But scuba diving can be a bit of a sport in the sense that you get equipment, you have a buddy, you do training, you get certified, you level up. There's a process. There are agencies. There's big business behind all of this stuff. So it's significant, right? But having a mentor or a coach in the space to help guide you through your journey, whatever that might be, if you're a pro, if you're just recreationally diving, if you want to do tech diving, commercial diving. So having a mentor was the first one. Number two, and I'll just run through these. I made some notes on my pen. So again, I've said this a few times, but understand is a journey. Your journey is your own. It can be long, it can be short. You could dive once a year, you can dive every day. Everyone is unique. Everyone, in my opinion, should be putting their eyes underwater, no matter what discipline you choose. Snorkeling, free diving, scuba diving, just put your eyes underwater. You'll fall in love with it. Trust me, the monsters are friendly. Like they're there, but they're friendly. So they're cool. And then it's diving. It's number three. It is a rabbit hole. So you might think that, let me just do a DSD, let me just do a Discover Scuba Diving trip, and it'll be cool. It's a bucket list item, like it was for me. I'm just going to try it with my buddies. I'm going to go dive with Jess, dive with Weldon, and that's going to be it. Well, that's what I said 13 years ago. And now I'm like this ocean guy, right? So recognize that it can, in fact, be a rabbit hole. So those are my three, I think.
I like that. I like all those. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for my mentors. I was very lucky along the way. I had my instructor. I had friends who were instructors, who were dive masters, people who I just went diving with, and then all the people in the scientific diving community. Whenever I started diving scientific, the skills that you learn, and just from getting out there and getting in the water, having someone who's there and will answer your questions and will go over equipment with you and will just go diving with you. You have to have a buddy, so having that person who's like, yeah, maybe let's go. It's a game changer for sure. For me, I guess my other two, uh, I guess night diving is not as scary as it sounds. I remember my first night dive and I was petrified. And it was one of the coolest experiences I ever had. I was like this tiny little scrawny teenager, and I still remember to this day. There was this beautiful bioluminescence, and I almost didn't see it because my
Oh
dive
my
buddy, who happened to be
God.
my father, was like, turn off your light underwater. It's like, no, what's your problem? This is the only light I have. Like, I'm not turning this off for nothing. And
That's
he finally
so
convinced me, and
cool.
I just covered it. I didn't turn it off. I covered it. I still
Right,
remember,
right.
and I thought it was all around us, and it was stunning and beautiful. And luckily, that was at the very beginning of the dive, and I was like, oh man, this isn't scary. This is beautiful. Night
That
diving is
is
not as
so
scary as it
cool.
sounds. Um,
That's so cool.
yeah, I think a lot of people hold back from it. A lot of people only dive during the day, and it's not until they get like a really cool opportunity, like doing a fluoro dive, or doing a black water dive, something like that, where it really encourages them to get out there and see what's out there at night. But man, you can do cool stuff you'll never see during the day on a night dive. Um, and then uh, I guess, yeah, the next one is, yeah, you never know. It's going to be a long passion or not, and you'll never know until
Yeah.
you try. So you might lose a lot of money in that year and trips, but it's worth it. It's an investment. Um, that's
It is.
what it's done to me. So I wouldn't trade it for a minute.
So I want to say, I love your hat, Tiger Shark. Yeah.
Thank you. I just
Check it
got
out.
it on my most recent trip to Florida.
Oh, love the hat. I don't wear hats. My head is a little bit too big for most hats, so you won't see me ever with a hat. But I love your hat. Thank you so much,
Oh,
for all of your time. I know that night diving is amazing. I'll never forget my first night dive. It was with the Bermuda Salt Aqua Club. We went off Paget Island, and I remember shining my torch, and the largest puffer fish with an eye bigger than my fist just came out of nowhere, and we both jumped. It was crazy, but I do a lot of night. It's funny just talking to you like this, how much like I tend to take night diving for granted. Like I do twilight dives all the time. I do night dives all the time. We do have bioluminescence here, but it tends to not like engulf us. It tends to be inside of our bays. So, for example, we go to the clubs close at 3 a.m. There's nothing to do after that. We come home, grab our dive torches, go to a bay, light up the bay with the torches, and then find that the water is bioluminescent. So in deep water, it tends not to be, but there's some pretty dope opportunities to experience
nice.
bioluminescence here. But I just take it for granted, man. And then, but the thing is, like, it gets dark so late now that around this time of year we tend not to do that many night dives. Otherwise you're getting home like 10:30, 11:30 at night. Whereas as it gets the water gets colder as we get closer to winter and the clocks fall back and then it gets dark at like 6 o'clock, you're able to do some really cool twilight dives where you get in and it's still light, but as you come out you're pretty much in darkness. And yeah, Jess is right, like you see things that you never see during the day. Everything changes, right? And it's just super beautiful. Yeah, we need to talk about night
You're so
diving. Need to
focused.
definitely
You're so
do.
focused, you know?
Yeah, need to do a a deep dive into night diving, get all our gear out and show off all of our lights. Yeah, if you want to talk about rabbit hole and you want to get into night diving, you need a bunch of really nice lights, and then talk about photography and shooting video. Then you need all kinds of extra stuff. But yeah, I've had some really awesome experiences and memories night diving back when I was doing night diving all the time. That was so cool. Thank you for sharing that, man. You brought back some really dope memories. So I'm a little bit distracted because I'm like, how do we get Jessica to Bermuda? Like, what do I got to do? What do I have to sell? So I do apologize.
Get me on a plane, shove me in a suitcase, zip me up.
I'm gonna start a GoFundMe or something like that to see how we can sort that out. Yeah, we'll talk offline about that, because there's definitely things that we can do together here to make that happen. So we will get Jess to Bermuda
I would love that.
soon. Thank you. I don't want to keep you much longer, and there's no time for me doing these lives. I'll get to bed at some point, I guess, but I'm realizing now that I'm listening, I didn't hang up my soundproof curtains.
It's only 9.
I know. It's 11 o'clock sharp here, so yeah, we'll just see how it goes. I'll wrap up and get ready for the next one next week. I might have you back. Jeez, we could talk all night. Thank you, Jess.
Absolutely. I would love it.
Nice. Wonderful to see your face. Have a good night. Bye.
It's so good seeing you again.
It's good to see you too. Wow. That's what it's all about. I cut off the air conditioner just to keep the noise levels in the studio low. And then I realized that once I put the headphones on so that I can hear Jess, that I did not hang up my soundproofing. So I'm not happy with the audio. For those of you that are still on the live or you're watching this on replay and you're like, yo boy, sounds a little bit like I hear a little something extra. It's because I forgot to put the curtains up on the walls. I put the carpet down and I didn't cover the walls. So it's a thing about me. Like I don't know if I consider myself a perfectionist, but certainly having crispy audio and crispy video is really, really important. So that was a mistake on my part. I will fix that for next time, but you know how we do it out here. We build it while we fly. So for those of you that are still on the live, if you have any questions about diving, ocean conservation, ocean activism, sustainability, waste management, pollution, recycling, fishing, anything at all, feel free to drop it in the comments. But it's just after 11 o'clock here in Bermuda. I'd love to keep these lives an hour or so going forward. But I hope you guys like the framework. Hope the audio and video is crispy. I hope the monologue wasn't a big yawn fest. And thank you so much, Jessica, for jumping in. And that's open to anybody and everybody, as long as I know you. And, you make a request, I'm happy to send you the link and pull you into the live. We can have like up to 10 people join the stream at the same time. So it'll be wonderful to have you on board, on deck, if you want to be, because you can also ask questions live on video. So that'll be cool too. So yeah, by divers, for divers. It's not all about me. I'll share my stories, but ultimately it's really about bringing the diving community together, sharing tips and tricks. And yeah, just to a bit of a recap, especially if you're just jumping on, is what I wanted to share with you are 3 things that I wish I knew at the beginning of my journey in scuba diving. And I got them written down here. It was how about having a mentor. So when I had Jessica on the feed, we shared these, and I shared mine and she shared hers, and that's great. A mentor, right? A mentor / coach. And I find that in the space I'm in, I tend to be doing a lot of this because, people tend to want to have a bit of a neutral opinion when it comes to getting into certain things, because you can imagine if you want to get a new piece of equipment and you go to the store that sells that equipment, they're going to be trying to sell you something. If you go to one of our amazing local dive shops and ask about diving, they're going to want to sell you courses and get you involved and get you underwater, but it's business, right? Sometimes, and there's different agencies, there's different dive shops that train through different agencies. And when it comes to buying gear and equipment, there's different brands, everything's different sizes, then there's expense, then there's different, what fins do I want? Do I want the closed heel, the open heel, the spring strap, the carbon fiber, the fiberglass, the plastic? What mask do I want? Do I want the black skirt, the clear skirt? Do I want to have a rubber strap, a neoprene strap? Do I want to snorkel? Do I not want to snorkel? Do I want to snorkel with a purge valve? Do I want a basic J snorkel? What weight belt do I want? Like, we could talk about gear and all of that for hours. But ultimately, what I would suggest to anybody out there that wants to get into ocean exploration, be diverse in the sport. I've mentioned this before. Don't silo yourself into, let's say, scuba diving and say, my name is Weldon, all I do is scuba dive. That's dope. You could be a rock star scuba diver, but scuba diving, as I see it, is a tool, right? There's going to be some cases where there's only 4 feet of water in a sump, in a cave, in a lagoon, in a bay. You're not going to scuba dive 4 feet of water. You're going to snorkel that. So get your mask, fins, and snorkel. Or maybe it's going to be 20 feet of water harvesting lobsters, which you can't do on scuba. What are you going to do? Not dive? No, you're going to get your free diving kit, maybe your plastic or fiberglass fins with your mask and your J snorkel and your weight belt and your wetsuit if you need it. And you're going to free dive down to 15, 20 feet to get your lobsters. So, you know what it hurts me. And I don't take it personally, but it's like, man, I wish more divers were diverse and dabbled in all disciplines of diving. But I think to do that, you really need a coach or mentor or somebody that's on the outside that's able to, that's done what you want to do, and you can learn from their experience and sort of, with that on their dime in a way. And just, it's funny, just because I did make a note, if you're still on the live, about cost, and I wrote this down. An accountant friend of mine, and I find accountants to be great divers. They're very disciplined and meticulous and counting everything. My buddy, he was like, you stop counting at 50K. Like, you just stop counting. And he told me that early on, and I was like, $50,000? What do you mean you spent $50,000 like scuba diving? He's like, you'll see. And it's true. It's quite easy to reach 50,000 US dollars when you decide to make diving a lifestyle and really wrap everything you do around it. Because, when you count the gear, the training, the traveling, and all those little incidentals, it's quite quick to get into those high figures early on. But it's all worth it. Trips to Mexico, to Cozumel, to Cayman, to Jamaica, to St. Croix. That's where I did my rebreather training with John Kieran a few years ago. It's all worth it, man. Like, it's the ocean. It's our life support system. It's beautiful. It's super unexplored. There's so much to see and do. And then once, I don't know, let's just say hypothetically you get tired of wherever you are diving, just go somewhere else. The ocean connects us all. It's a beautiful place. It's a lot to see. It's definitely worth fighting for. It gives us, like, every second breath, every other breath we take is from the ocean. So yeah, man, thank you so much for tuning in to the Wade in the Water late live show. I will kick myself if I didn't say that in the beginning. I'm happy to take any feedback. I'm happy to take any suggestions. I know my buddy said the audio might have been low on something, but we're going to work on that. And this is a quick comment from Jessica that I'll share on the screen. Ha ha, so true, but it's worth it. Yeah, I mean, every dollar I've spent on diving is definitely worth it. And I love to talk about training, the different agencies, the different dive disciplines, in Bermuda, like where to get gear, where to order gear, lessons I've learned that I can share with you to help save you time and money. Money you can always get back. Time, I respect time more than anything else. Once it's gone, it's gone. But yeah, Jess, I did get some new dive torches that I use mostly for snorkeling in caverns and caves. And right in there's an area called Admiralty Park. There's a cove called Clarence Cove. There's a really cool underground tunnel. You can see light, like when you're on one end, you can see light at the other, but it's an overhead environment, air pocket, but it's dark in the middle. So I like to take people snorkeling through that. So I need torches. I only had my 3 and my big video light. So I ordered a bunch of new torches, which are really, really dope. I can't wait to get those wet tomorrow with a group I'm taking out. So that should be pretty fun. And some new masks too. Just some generic masks that have black skirt, soft silicone, nice. They fit really well. I replaced the rubber straps with some neoprene. And the whole idea is to not have the mask on my client's faces so tight that you get the whale hooky, after like 5 minutes. I want to get it sitting really nice. And I got some very basic J snorkels too. So trying to get as many people in, on, and under the water as possible this summer while the water is warm. Right now, Jess, the water is warm. But warm, what does that mean? You use a tool. And I'm going to share with you guys all the tools that I use to forecast the weather, which determines where we dive, when we dive. But right now, Jess, the sea surface temperature in Bermuda is 84.7 degrees Fahrenheit, 29.3 degrees Celsius. It's almost 30 degrees Celsius sea surface temperature. That's crazy. Because in January, February, the sea surface temperature is like 50. So we have those dramatic seasonalities here. We're not in the Caribbean at all, right? Where it's not 96 degrees in the shade year round. We get certainly summer. Like now, let me see something real quick. And bear with me, you guys. What was that? Yeah, okay. So in terms of air, the air temperature high of 86, low of 78. So it's still a little, 78 is nice. 86.30. Okay. Yeah, the ocean, at least during the day, is a little cooler than the air. I went swimming today, and the water was pretty warm. The sun will bake you, and then you slip in the water, and you're like, wow, this is warm. So, yeah, it's warm. Like Bermuda is such a beautiful place, and its unique location brings all these little nuances that are very, very special. So you'll get cold in the winter and hot in the summer. I love spring and fall. And then like there's with the seasonality with the lobster season and spear